Smoot and Andy Irvine with Plus Minus and The Love Inside. You want to tell them a little bit about your film, both of the films, and then we'll get started on questions.
Right. Well, first off, thanks so much for being here. And we'd really like to thank Dallas for having us. We feel really thrilled and grateful to be a part of it. Dallas is the hometown for both Andy and me, so this feels very, very fitting to be premiering our feature here. And The Love Inside, I would say, is essentially a film about flawed people and flawed relationships. So both Andy and I had plenty of experience to draw upon. And Plus Minus is a short about a young couple examining their relationship as they await the result of a pregnancy test. So, yeah, and
that sounds good. That's a good tease.
A little bit more about The Love Inside, the feature. It's, the inspiration comes from, the kind of classical comic tradition of comedy of tangled love stories, mismatched, incompatible couples spending a weekend out in the country together, and basically all the complications that come through their interactions. We were very fortunate to work with a really, really talented cast: Zachary, Knighton, Kern, Kat Foster, Betsy Phillips, Bryon, and Ashley Spillers, who is also in our short Plus Minus.
You guys talked about working with Ashley. I really loved your first Vaughn and her sense of humor seems kind of perfect for what you guys are writing. Talk a bit about working with her and maybe a bit about the sexuality of the films and the way y'all portray sex and intimacy is a little different.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Should start with Ashley.
Yeah, I think Ashley. I hope I answer your question. I'm just gonna talk. I met Ashley like 3 or 4 years ago, and I was like, "Oh, this is like the first actor ever. Like, she can act. I always felt like she was doing me a favor. You know what I mean?" And so we did a short together called Hearts of Napalm about this couple who's like kind of guy realizes he's not getting his girlfriend off and has to figure out how to do that. And she was really great. She's like very resilient despite a lot of issues I had. I'm trying to tell that story. And then, once we decided, and so Ashley's awesome. She's an awesome person. She's warm. She's sweet. She's a great friend, and I feel like there's this thing. We watch a lot of sports. So it's like in football, they're always like, when a coach leaves, they're always trying to bring like their people, like their players, And that's the way I feel about like her. It's just like whenever she's there, it's like I know everything's gonna be okay for her, and she's just a great person to be around. And she's incredibly talented, and so let's not keep going on. I think the cool thing about if you get a chance to see the short is like just because she's her, we just would oh, she could probably do a drama, right? I've never seen her do that, but I believe she could be awesome. And she totally blew us away. Like, it was a different side of her that I hadn't really seen before, and it was like really phenomenal. So it was great to see this thing. I think when you see her, you're like, oh, she's like the little sprightly, sweet girl that can go to more depths than that. But that's kind of the initial impression she can give off. But in the short, she displays like a great range that I think I was like, oh, if I saw her, I'd be like, she can literally do anything. So that's about her. As far as I'll speak briefly about the sex stuff, and then Mark can jump in with her. But I feel like what we were talking about, or what the idea was just like in movies about relationships, often they'll explore a lot of conflicts, but very rarely will they explore the interpersonal conflicts and how they manifest themselves through the physical intimacy. So that was like our perspective on it. It's like, oh, we'll do this tangled love story, but instead of just exploring like, oh, this is how we don't get along, you're not making compromises or sacrifices, or we don't identify with each other like we used to. It's like, okay, that's cool. How could this manifest itself like physically through intimacy?
Yeah, I think our intention was to not shy away from those moments between couples at their most intimate and vulnerable. That was
You guys called this a subversive romantic comedy. What do you think really makes a romantic comedy work?
Well, for me, it's to empathize and identify with the characters. I was about to say despite their flaws, but because of their flaws. I certainly relate to people that are neurotic, that are insecure, needy. I'm not going too much about myself, but I miss therapy because of this. So there's times that, I think there's moments that are potentially alienating to some, but those are the moments that I find the most interesting and exciting. I hope that answered the question.
Yes.
By having two films here, one being a short, one being feature length, and one being a world premiere, was this a conscious effort to get both of these in at the same time, or is that just kind of how the chips fell? And how would you compare and contrast the short story and the feature film as far as the story and how they might appeal to the audience?
Well, it's interesting. So we made plus minus as we were still in post-production on the feature. So that short came after, and we learned making the feature was hugely valuable in the amount of lessons we learned in every step, and we're still learning. And with every film, with every script, it's trying to identify how do we get better. Filmmaking is a process, and it's not all so it's just kind of like, what did we learn from the feature? What lessons did we learn that we can apply to the future? And some of those lessons made their way into the short. And so we're just constantly building from those various lessons, from storytelling to the filmmaking to our collaboration with the actors.
Yeah, I think like the short was kind of like an unexpected kind of pregnancy. I guess it's a bad thing. It's about pregnancy, but it was just like it was like a thing that kind of came up out of left field, and it came together really quickly. And luckily, I felt like I've had a lot of lessons to learn even before we finished the feature, but there's still enough things that we can apply to it. And it was basically like, I think for us, it was like there's a strong comedic element to the feature, but for us, we wanted to kind of hone in on to focus more on drama with some levity in it. Like there is some moments of levity that are more, not so much jokes as it is like jabs that the couple is making at each other that are relatable. You kind of laugh with discomfort, maybe if you can relate to a flawed relationship. And that was exciting. I think through making the feature, you get really excited by like, oh, there's these things I want to express, and I've learned that I really want to get them out. And I think that short was a really great way for us to do that as we were working through the feature be like, oh, okay, we have these ideas we really want to try out and focus and hone in on, and I felt we were able to do that to a pretty good degree.
Yeah, and I think for both of us, we're the stories we want to tell, the films we want to make, they come out of what is most on our mind, what scares us the most at the moment. And I think that's a really great place for anyone to start, as far as like for an idea to germinate and then work through. For me, storytelling, filmmaking, all the process is therapeutic, and in both of these films, I would say that's where they're rooted in. Do you have a question?
What are other romantic comedies in particular that you kept in mind with writing?
It's a good question. It's definitely.
Miles of a Summer Night.
Yeah, I mean, definitely for Christopher Booker would call it the tangled love story of classical comedy. Midsummer Night's Dream, Woody Allen's Summer Night sex comedy, Ingmar Bergman's Miles of a Summer Night. Those, that as far as like a foundation and a structure to work from, those were hugely important. But Andy and I are basically lifelong, full-fledged cinephiles. So our sources come from all kinds of things that are, Romer is hugely important to us, and I think the film reflects that as far as like the milieu. Cassavetes is hugely important, and I think the film reflects it as far as it's the aesthetic, and so tonally, it's definitely it's an interesting hybrid.
We have time for one more.
So with a film like The Love Inside, a lot of what's interesting is going to come from piling circumstance on these characters. Can you talk about how you went about that aside from putting them in a rural cabin out in the woods?
I didn't hear the first word.
A lot of what's interesting about a movie like this is going to be you're piling circumstance on characters, you're throwing a lot of terrible things at them. So aside from throwing them in a rural cabin in the woods, how did you go about that?
Just drawing upon personal experience.
Well, yeah, one guy has another guy's former girlfriend that keeps that a secret, which is like, that was like literally experience I was going through, because there was a friend of mine who had dated a couple girls I had dated, which upset me in a very kind of, infantile, like caveman way. But then I found I ended up dating one of his ex-girlfriends that I felt really guilty about, because it's like, I was on this moral high horse for years, and whatever. It just didn't work out for me, was the bottom line. So I was dating a girl, actually, we had both dated at one point, now that I think about it. And and I felt like I needed to keep that secretive from him, because not that he cared, but I thought he cared.
He's not talking about me, by the way.
But a friend we grew up with. That would be a thing where it's like, well, I'm keeping this secret, it's causing me a great deal of stress. I'm going to pretend like it's all going to work out once the truth is revealed.
And I would say for myself, some of the feedback I've gotten of like, oh, that's such a cringe-inducing moment. It's like, yeah, I don't know about this, and I'm just like, oh, that actually happened to me, but all right.
Yeah, I think a lot of the circumstances that's were just like just talking about stories of our friends or that we had experienced, and see which one of those you think could be naturally integrated into the situation. So yeah, anything that is incredibly awkward, it's like either it had happened to us or somebody we knew, I think.
And then that we thought would be worth sharing, for better or worse. So you're welcome, or I'm sorry.
Thank you guys.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.